Says the recording. Oh,
Yeah, it started. Yes.
it has started. We're live in
We are,
action. Can you believe that?
we're not live. We're
Oh,
recording.
oh,
Dale.
this is a pre-recorded
Podcast.
podcast.
So,
Welcome
welcome.
to 9 Acres of Nothing podcast.
Yes. With, go ahead, Dale.
I'm Dale with 9 Acre Family Farms, and my beautiful guest next to me is the one and only Ginger from Not for Nothing Homestead.
Hi, guys. We're back. So, we actually have a special guest today that we're bringing up with us. We'll go ahead and bring. I know we had promised a recap on Wilbur, but we actually covered that in the live one, didn't we?
We covered that the last time.
We did.
I think.
We did. I'm sorry. I'm remiss. I was thinking, no, we did, because I was thinking we hadn't done one since then, and we did. We did the live one. So hopefully you got to catch that, so you know what happened with Wilbur. If not, it's back on our channel. So this is going to be sent out on both 9 Acre Family Farms channel as a podcast, and it will also be set up on Not for Nothing Homestead's channel as a podcast as well. So I will bring up our guest, because today we are going to start in a new series and a new animal, which we had
There might be a
promised you.
clue hidden behind us.
Yes.
What are those things?
What are those things? You can't hardly see them, but we would like to introduce you, if you are not familiar, to Johnny Gilliam with Gilliam Farms. Welcome in,
Hi,
Mr.
everybody.
Johnny.
Hello.
Hey, Johnny.
Hello, Dale. Hello, Ginger.
How are you doing today?
Hey,
Oh,
how
I'm
are you
doing-
today?
I'm doing swimmingly. I'm doing great.
Swimmingly.
I love swimmingly. So we'll start off every time we have a podcast. We have started off with a Bible verse that is has a lot to do with homesteading. You'll find a lot of that in Scripture if you dig deep. You know, all you have to do is dig in there for it.
Yep.
No pun intended, digging in the word.
Oh, you mean like digging in the word?
Yes. So if you do that, then you will find it. And I'm going to put today's verse on the bottom of the screen. This is a podcast, so we will read it as well. But hopefully you guys kind of do the same thing. Go digging through Scripture and looking for things that we all want to try to relate to, you know, what's happened in the Bible. There's a lot of repetition in our lives right now that we can learn from Scripture. We can learn a lot. So today's verse is Psalms, and it is 104:14, and it's scrolling along the bottoms there, and it reads, "He causes the grass to grow for the cattle, and vegetation for the service of man, that he may bring forth food from the earth." So I really like that one. And it applies because Johnny has lots of cows, and you see them down here at the bottom.
Yeah, we have a small cattle herd on one of the farms that we have. We have two farms. One is here where we live, and we have another small cattle farm down at where I grew up. So
Nice.
It's about 45 minutes from right here where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
And
how
you
long?
have 16 cows?
Right now there's 16, but we have one that's getting ready to calve just any second, and I figure this polar vortex is probably going to be what causes that to happen. That's a
I was
whole
going to
nother
say, it's par
issue.
for course. We got to pull her.
Hi.
Polar vortex coming. That means calving.
Yes.
You know?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, and
But
I
I
know you're probably very worried about her.
I am. I'm very worried. That now, if she was a heifer, I would be extremely worried about that
Yes.
one. But she is an older cow. She's had a lot of calves. She's never had an issue before. And as long as her maternal instincts take over, and she's able to dry that calf off, lick that calf off quick,
hmm
and everything, and keep it out of the wind, it should be okay.
Yeah.
Calves can take a lot in a short amount of time.
hmm
They're just born. They're just little
Yeah, and
cows. when they're
contrary
born.
to
I mean,
popular belief, most calves are not born in a barn in a manger. Most of them are born
Yeah.
out in the pasture.
Yes.
I mean, there's just, and kind of our area. I know in the northern states there are some of those states up there that they do have calving barns and stuff.
hmm
But we're just not built that way down in this country, because for the most part we don't have to worry about it that much.
that's
But
true.
once in a while, it's part of having spring calvers too, of course.
That's true.
So
That's,
So that would be part of like for cows, when you think of just like any other animal, you need to think about the infrastructure. If you were up northern area, you would need to think about a calving barn in the future, but you would need to go ahead and get a plan for where you're going to set that up. But I think that we kind of wanted to go back and pick your brain in the beginning of Gilliam Farms, and you can tell a little bit about what you've done before and then what brought you to that decision, if that's okay with Dale.
Oh, I think it's great. This is
Okay.
because I know that a lot of the listeners and viewers on Ginger and I's channels and this podcast may not even know who Johnny is. May not know Gilliam Farms and Christine and Johnny. So I definitely would like to hear some of that history, and I know they would too.
Yeah.
all right. Just whenever you want me to start, guys, I'll tell you
Take it
where
away, Johnny.
You get
where
it.
I came from. All right. I was raised down in basically central Cherokee County, Oklahoma. And we had cattle from the time I was born. My folks had cattle. I was raised with cattle, fed cattle every year, hauled hay every year, had, and we've had cattle herds various times throughout my adult life, but we always, would have cattle for a period of time, and then something would happen and we would get out of cattle for a while. This last time, it was kind of a I don't know if it was a God thing or a fluke or what happened, but we had a, and when I say God thing, I don't mean, I don't mean that God took my friend away from me. But we were able to help a friend of ours' spouse.
Mm-hmm.
They had a cattle herd. He passed away. She had the cattle by herself then, and she didn't know how to take care of the cattle. They had around 40 head of cattle. We purchased what we could of the cattle, because cattle have a great expense. To get into cattle, there's a great expense. She wanted to sell them she wanted to sell them to us at what was market price at the time. It was in the middle of the drought when we purchased the cattle, the hard drought. And she actually had the stockyards, the owner of the stockyards come out. He assessed the cattle in the field, told her what a good price for the cattle would be in the middle of a drought at that time. And so she agreed with that and said that was a good price. We actually gave her more per head than what she asked for,
Oh,
because we thought it was the right thing to do. And we were supposed to be buying 7 pair. And that would have been 7 with calves on the ground, and most all of them were going to be 3-ways, which means they had a calf on the ground and they were pregnant with another calf. When we were getting them up,
okay.
there were just certain cows that struck my eyes. I want that cow, no matter whether it has a calf or not. So whenever
Yeah.
they were coming up, I picked some cows that were bred who had no calf on the ground. And just because I liked the cow, I liked the structure of the
Yeah.
cow, I liked the way they looked, I liked their demeanor and things like that. Of
And then
those
do you
7
look
cows,
too at their patterns, like or does that not make a difference?
it does. There were 2 black baldy cows in the entire herd, and one of them was too old. She was
Oh,
a broken mouth cow.
okay.
And which means lost her teeth, ground her teeth down, and things like that. So she wasn't long for. I didn't feel like she was going to be a good calver in the future. But the other
Yeah.
one was Oreo, and if anybody's watched our
Oh,
videos at all, they know Oreo.
yes. I know who Oreo is.
Yeah.
So Oreo is what we want to get our cattle to. That's the goal, is to get them to Oreo, which is a Brangus black baldy, is what that is. And so that's where we're going.
So it's a Brangus crossed on a Hereford.
Yep, it's a Brangus Hereford cross, is what she is.
Okay.
And they are a actual. They will eat and hustle whenever other cows are hunting shade. So I've got lots of video of her eating briars when the rest of the cows are looking for grass. She's out there eating briars. I mean, she will.
Oh, wow.
She's like the goat of cattle. So she's a good one.
Yeah.
And
well, that has to be coming from the Boss Terrace part of the Brangus, right? From the Bramer side is where a lot of that's coming from, because Bramers can live off that roughage. They kind of look for that browse,
Yep. And the other thing is I think she's got one eye that's got white next to it, but all of her calves all have black all the way around their eyes. And that's important for pink eye.
Okay.
So if you have cows white next to the eye, they can be susceptible to pink eye. But all her calves that she has have they have the white on their face, but it's not around their eye.
Oh,
So
okay. See, I'm learning so much already.
It saves them from pink eye. Yes,
I did not know that.
And we think we think of pink eye as a sanitary deal, but in cattle, it's a whole different thing, really.
Yeah.
Pink eye is, it can become extremely detrimental to a cow herd. Pink eye can.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Full-on Herefords can have a lot of pink eye and stuff like that in them because of the white next to the eye. And of course, you can help with your pink eye by keeping them from grazing in tall weeds, tall grass, and things like that. Anything that irritates the eye can cause that to come on. But also, like Dale was saying, the types of cattle that you have also can, that's why the Angus and the Brangus, they typically don't have any pink eye issues whatsoever. You never see any of them with pink eye, and it's because of the dark skin.
Okay.
So anyway, here's how.
So you got 7.
We got started.
Did you end up with 7 pair and some 3-way?
We ended up with 7 pair, but we ended up having to sell 1 pair immediately because we found that the cow that we bought was crazy. And
who picked that one out?
we couldn't catch her on catch day. She had a calf. We couldn't catch her. We caught the calf, and we couldn't get her to come up. We ended up having to hire a cowboy. She actually broke through the fence, got stuck in a mud slough down by the river,
Oh my
a
God.
mile from the field that she was in.
Wow.
She went off in that mud and got hung up, and we went and roped her. And we had to bring her out there with a rope, and we had to drag her into a trailer. And we decided that she was just not something that we wanted in our cow herd, so we
Yeah.
sold her. We sold her and her calf just right after we bought them. So we ended up with six mama cows. I think four of the mama cows had calves, and two of them didn't. And but we got calves
Okay.
just immediately out of those, and then we've gotten
Okay.
several more calves since. But anyway, and then we got Danny, of course, and that's another story. Danny.
I was going to say how okay, I'll let you tell the progression. You got the
so,
6,
so
the 7 pairs, and then you sold the 1 immediately. So now you're down to 6, but only 4 have calves. So you actually only have 10, is what you started out with.
that we
Right.
had 6, 4 had, and here's the other thing: when we bought them, they were in the field. Where they were, and they stayed there for a while I was trying to get things fixed over there, fences and things like that, where we were going to take them.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 of them actually had calves while they were there.
Oh, well, that was convenient.
It was. So whenever we actually got there, I think we had 13 when we actually got there with them.
Okay.
So
Baker's dozen.
yeah. So we actually started off like that. I had to do a lot of fence work. I had to do a lot of dozer work. We own a small bulldozer, so I was able to do my own dozer work. We had to make sure the ponds were going to be, so I did a lot of pond work. I did a lot of things like that. And the thing with our cat, since we have such a small acreage, we couldn't just turn the cattle loose in the whole thing. We had to break it up to where we had different paddocks. Or
Now,
some
why
people
is
don't.
that?
Some people don't realize that if you have not a lot of land, you really need to break it up into grazing paddocks, because the cattle will go around and they'll eat all the good out of everything immediately. I mean, they will chase the good in every field until it's gone.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then they'll trample the rest of it. They'll eat the good out of everything, and you'll end up with just the whole field just with nothing for them to eat, in the summertime.
Yeah.
With the paddocks, we're able to put them in a paddock, let the other parts grow, keep them in a certain area, make them eat everything that's in there that's good for them and stuff like that. And then we move them to another paddock, rest that one. As it rains, that one grows.
Yep.
And you're moving them. And we have 3 paddocks, so we move them paddock to paddock like that. Now, I'm not going to say that with Oklahoma summers that we end up with plenty of grass for all the cattle that we have every year, but we keep enough hay on hand just in case. And that's a whole nother story. I can get into the hay thing with you.
Yeah, I thought that was why I was going to ask, is that why you let them eat it down, but if you're not if the next paddock is not ready to receive the herd yet, you go ahead and give them a bale or 2 of hay.
We start haying because we have there's approximately 30 acres that the cattle are on, and not all of it is grazing land. There's quite a bit of it that's woods and stuff like that. And so they end up in, I'd say, of grazing land, they end up in probably 22 or 23 acres of grazing land is what they end up being in, and the rest of it's woodland.
Are they pretty much each paddock is that would kind of be an average of about 7 acres a paddock. So are they each pretty much split?
The one down where the pond is now, it has the most pasture. The one I call the pond paddock. There's the transition paddock has the least amount of pasture, and then the what we call the Mean Girls paddock forever. It's actually got probably the best grass. It's not a lot of grass, but it's got the best of it. And
Okay.
so
And they love to be down there.
Excuse me.
I said they love to be in that one, I guess.
Oh yeah. That's like the candy. Whenever we put them in there, they love that one. They love to go to the candy store.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's the ice cream grass.
That's the ice cream grass. They love that one. So
I have to ask, why is it called the Mean Girl paddock? I've wanted to know this for like 6 months. Why do you call it the Mean Girl paddock?
The Brangus heifers all had a stern look on their face whenever you put they've got enough brammer in them and that ear and stuff like that, where whenever you're looking them straight on, they've got a kind of a, mean mugging is what Christine
mean muggers
says.
don't mess with me.
Yeah, they're doing so we call it the Mean Girls paddock. And that's where we kept the heifers in the Mean Girls paddock. And actually, one of them's name is Beth. It's right on her ear tag, says Beth. And it's because she reminds us of Beth from Yellowstone.
Beth Dutton. Dutton. Oh my God.
Yes, Beth Dutton.
Funny.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
So anyway, but going back to where we started in, I guess it would be in 2022 with this cattle herd. And it was August when we moved them. It was August 1st is the day we moved the cattle from the other property. We were in the middle of a desperate drought. Hay was at $160 a bale in our area.
Whoo! You're talking about the big round bales.
Yes.
Good.
And we ended up.
Now, what size of round bales are those?
These are 4x5s that we've got. And when we ended up purchasing the cattle, luckily the lady that we purchased them from, her husband had made a contract with a guy for cutting the hay off of his hay meadows. And so we ended up getting that hay contract off of that, and we were actually able to cut hay. We got one cutting hay off of it that year. There was no more cuttings because of the drought, but we were able to get a cutting in like early July is when we cut it right after. As soon as we bought the cattle, we had it cut. And when we got it cut, it made 116 bales, round bales. And that was plenty for our cattle at the time. So there were no more, like I said, there were no more cuttings that year. And then we had to renegotiate the contract on the hayfield, and we still have it. So the only reason why we have cattle is because we have access to hay. If we had to every year make new plans for different hay from different places and stuff like that, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing, because eventually we're going to run into another drought, and we can't afford $160 bales of hay to feed these cattle. So
can I ask you a question? So so back to before you had cattle. So it was just you and the chickens and Christine, and you were fine on your farm, and you didn't have anything in that 30 acres. And then all of a sudden an opportunity presented itself. So
that's true.
So then you started weighing the pros and cons of everything. What are the first, let's just say 5 things that you thought, if we want to try to do this, well, discounting money, because, that's going to be number one. Do we have the money to do it? Then what is the next thing that you like? Just name the top 5 of what you thought in your head.
Well, one of the things we thought of immediately was we were thinking about a cattle and a hay barn and a working barn, so we could kind of put a corral up next to it and stuff like that. And that's still in the 5-year plan. Okay, that's still in the plan. So it's not. We're hoping that something happens with the country that brings interest rates and things down enough again to where that's a feasible thing to do.
And lumber prices,
because we still want to do that. We're using thing, like we're moving cattle panels and things like that in order to load our cattle and things like that. But we don't have an area where we can. We don't have an area to put the hay in. We don't have an area to put a cow inside if she's going to calve in a minus 20-degree weather. We don't have anything like that. So we're kind of at the mercy of that stuff. But that's one of the things we thought of. The other thing was fencing. So I went around. I had a neighbor help me. I had a nephew and his wife help me. I had my brother help me, and we went around because this place hadn't had cattle in it in, the last 30 years at least. There had been no cattle in there. So the fences, if you know anything about barbed wire fence, it just kind of goes away. I mean, over time, it does. It just goes away.
Yeah.
So we had to make it to where it would hold cattle. And then, of course, there was the hay thing. That was if we couldn't get hay, we couldn't do it. So when we were talking about getting the cattle, we had to make sure that we had a steady supply of hay for them.
Yeah.
Then, so you're talking 5 things. That was the barn, the fencing, that. Okay, the next thing was the ponds.
Yes.
We didn't have, in the middle paddock, we didn't have any type of water source for the cattle. So I had to dig a small pond with the dozer in that one.
Okay.
The pond paddock, which is the back paddock, had a pond that would dry up in droughts. I mean, completely dry up. So I had to do a lot of dozer work on that one. Luckily, it was down enough to where I could do that. So I did a lot of work on that one to make it hold enough water to keep the cattle in there. And then, of course, up front, we have started actually building a pond up in the front paddock, but things have gotten in my way and I haven't been able to do it. Luckily, there's a shared pond with my sister's land right there where a fence goes across it and the cattle can drink out of the side that's on our side of the fence in that one.
Okay.
Then after,
you really did. I mean, nothing was like existing in good condition. I mean, you really had to think.
No.
I mean, do we have the time? Do we have the money? Do we have the energy to do this?
Number 5 on your list.
Yes.
Was luckily we have a bulldozer. Luckily.
Oh, thank you.
And we had the bulldozer already. And the fact that most of this ground had grown up over the last 30 years and what was pasture ended up being just cedar, just huge cedar areas and stuff like that. So there was nothing growing and it was just trees, just thick trees. And going back to our videos, you can see where we had, I made at least of what we've got left. I made at least 8 or 9 acres of pasture with the dozer, more pasture than we had. So those are the 5 things that had to get done. And I'll add one more to the list.
Okay.
we have to have a bull.
Yes.
We could AI, we could AI, artificial inseminate the cattle, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to have a bull on the property that could take care of the cattle as they come in. Now, some people are going to say, but you hold your bull away from the cows and you put it in at a certain time and you have them calve at a certain time and stuff like that. So all your calves are the same age.
Yes.
So I've never done that in my entire life. We've always had a bull with the cattle, and when calves come is when calves come. And
Yeah.
we've never really had a problem
Nature.
selling calves or anything like that. Calves are right now, we bought at the right time. I mean, if you were getting into cattle, we bought at the right time. We bought at the exact right
even though
time
it was
to
the
get
middle of a drought.
you wouldn't. I mean, financially, right now is just the cattle market so high. It would be triple probably what you would have bought them in that time period, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. We would have at least more than doubled our initial cost to buy cattle right now. And on the calves, you're right. It would have been close to triple, because right now you can't buy a 500-pound steer for less than, they're $1,300-$1,400.
Yeah.
For one of those. And it's just like at the time, you could have bought one for, $500 or $600, something like that.
Yeah.
Now they're just so exorbitantly high. So we got in at the right time.
And you go to the cattle auction quite frequently, but maybe we'll get into do you want to save the cattle auction and the Danny story for this is going to be a series with Johnny. We can either tell the Danny story now, or we can.
I'll tell you the Danny story, since it happened almost immediately after the cattle came.
Okay.
We got very
that
lucky.
Was your other thing. You said, okay, we've got all these
number
cows.
6.
Now we need a bull.
Danny came about. Danny is an absolute God thing. He is an absolute God thing, because what happened was I put a feeler out on Facebook for a Brangus bull. And a guy saw that somehow plumb out in western Oklahoma, and he had a Brangus bull 8 hours from here that was right at 4 years old. He had lots of good calves off of this bull, and he sent me pictures of him. Guaranteed him he's a full blood Brangus bull. I mean, he's not he could be papered. He is not papered, but he could be papered.
He could. Okay.
He has all the. He said if you want to paper him, he said, I've got all the documentation to paper him if you want to. And I said, no, it's all right. I mean, all I'm looking for is a pasture bull. And
that's kind of expensive.
And he asked me, he said, I'll take X amount of dollars if you want to come and get him, or I'll add $500 to that and I will bring him to you. And I said, bring him for $500.
Yeah, 8-hour drive.
8 hours over, 8 hours back, pulling a trailer. It was like a no-brainer for me. That's 16 hours.
Wow.
So he loaded that bull up one morning, and he was at our house at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and he was going to turn around and head back. The bull came out of the trailer just beautifully. He went straight to the cattle. There's videos of this. He went straight to the cattle, and he started
on your opening of your
loving
channel,
on all the girls. Let's just put it that way. He started really paying attention to the girls, and they were all
knew his
excited
job and went to work.
They were all excited to see him immediately. The cows were. They were chasing him around. And we've gotten some beautiful calves off of Danny. And Danny is like almost the star of our channel. I mean, he is. People love Danny. If I've got video and Danny's in it, people love that video. So and he is going, and we're gonna try to keep him for a while. He's just a good bull. I love the calves that come off of him. They're low birth weight, which is very important whenever you have heifers. So But anyway, those
So
are
that
the
way they
6
don't
things.
the mothers don't struggle.
Yeah, you don't want, you want your calves to be, you want those calves to be 70 and under. They're about 70,
Yeah.
75 pounds and under in weight. Whenever,
Uh-huh.
preferably, 60 to 75-pound calf is a pretty good calf.
good.
You can
Okay.
get into some breeds of cows that will throw typically bit larger calves. If your cow is trying to have 100-pound calf, it's very,
Oh,
very hard on that cow. And
oh,
Charolais is one of the big calvers. I mean, they have they Charolais bulls usually throw a pretty big calf, and I've had Charolais before, and
yikes.
yes, I've had to pull a lot of calves,
Okay.
and I'm not
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
You're not fond of that.
no, don't like to pull calves. So Danny throws his
Yeah,
calves are all been the exact perfect size for our cattle. So
that
been a
is
really good bull.
awesome. Dale, so that's your 6 things that you had at the forefront of your mind that, like, okay, we're really thinking this, we're going to do this, we're thinking it through. Here's our 6 things, and they all fell pretty well in a row. Dale, did you have anything that you wanted to I had to ask the mean girl
Oh,
Paddock
I'm
question.
saving
I just wanted
questions.
to know.
That's fine. I got questions for the next episode for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
I figure you do. I figure you do.
So
We're gonna talk. We're
I
gonna
think
talk about. Go ahead.
I think for our next episode, we'll pick up right here, and we got plenty more to talk about. I know, Johnny, you have some things that you would like to talk to us about and tell us about, and I think this is a good spot to leave off with Danny and the Danny story, and we can get into more of the nuts and bolts of the operation. Or should I say the hoofs and tails of the of the rest of the operation? And I think unless anybody else got anything else they want to add, this would be a really good spot, and we'll see everyone again next time.
Yeah, no, Dale will be doing most of the talking next time. I just led the interview to start with this week. When they start talking next week or in 2 weeks when we drop the next one, I'm going to be sitting over here with my notepad and my pen taking notes. Because, Joey wants cows eventually.
Yeah.
So I am going to soak up every bit of this, knowledge that I can, just so that, we are prepared as we can be. So I guess we will leave you guys with this. Do what?
I said, there you go.
So we'll leave you guys with this. Thank you, Johnny. And we'll probably make this at least a 3-part series, you think?
However long you guys want to go, I'm good.
At least.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was thinking maybe even 4 because we have just hit the tip of the iceberg here, but we're almost at 40 minutes. So we've been trying to keep them at 30. So anyways, all right. Well, we will.
Yep.
What's that?
Till next time, guys.
Struggled there.
Go
just
grow your
for a
homestead.
Second. Yes, go grow your homestead. And thank you again, Johnny. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Johnny. See you.